Hello. I thought it'd be a fun little video to do of a tier list of all the current mobile suits in Gundam Evolution. This is for the current network test happening right now. So things are going to change and there might be new units when the final version of the game comes out. But for now, here's a little thing I thought I'd like to do. Now, note, these are just my opinions. Obviously, if I suck at some of these, but I'll try to be fair and give like ones that I think I suck at but are still good higher up on the ranks. Because there are definitely some good ones, I'm just not good at them. And there are some I just think are totally crap. So let's just hop right in with the Asshimar. I have no idea how to pronounce it properly. Transformable suit from Zeta Gundam. It has mid-range, 1000 HP, 2 dashes. It's a pretty good suit, honestly. Its main weapon has like a 3 burst fire, a sub attack that's 1 strong shot. It's obviously transformable, so it can fly around, and it excels at flying. It's definitely the best at it. And the Molotov, which is great for clearing areas. Especially if people are on a point, you need to get them off the point. Great. And I've seen a lot of people definitely take use of flying up in the air and attacking enemies from below. So honestly, all around, I say that Asshimar is pretty good. It's quite a funny suit, like not one you would expect. You would think like transformable suit, you think Zeta Gundam, but no, this suit instead. So I'm feeling more on the positive side on this suit. I haven't excelled at it personally myself, but that Molotov definitely gets in my way the most. So I'm gonna give it a solid, I think a solid B. I kind of want to go A, but I think B for now. Maybe I'll change my mind later. Here's one that I'm just bad at. The Dom Trooper. Dom Trooper is already interesting because I keep calling it the Dom Tropin from just normal Gundam because I've never watched Seed Gundam. But basically it's very similar to the normal Dom, and it's mid-range, 1200 attack, and has 1 dash. Its main weapon is a classic bazooka. It's got a good area, so even if you miss, you're going to still be doing the damage. Sub-weapon is a focused laser. I see it mostly as a kind of finisher off kind of attack, or if the enemy is far away, it's got great range as well, and shoots fast. The G maneuver, I didn't really talk about the G maneuver for the Asshimar. It's just like a forward punch in a line. It's like not stoppable from what I can tell, and I've seen it used very effectively once when like everyone was just in a hallway. It was at the other end and it just punched through everything. So effective enough G maneuver, but pretty simple. Dom Trooper's got a similar G maneuver of constantly dashing forward and knocking things out of its way. The one bonus with its G maneuver is that it does not stop for a while. And apparently, it grants temporary bonus HP and increased movement speed to allies, which I actually didn't even know about until I'm just reading this right now in another window. So that makes that G maneuver pretty much better. And then its other skill is it just sets mines around up to 3 at a time. And its secondary skill is that it can give an armor boost to any ally you point at. It's okay. The armor boost, I don't know if it'd be too overpowered, but I feel like the cooldown should be reduced because it's whatever. I feel like the armor doesn't last super long anyway, so a cooldown reduce might be fine. But I feel like it just sometimes doesn't do enough damage, even if you get solid hits off, and it's a bit of a tanky unit being at the current health cap, but its G maneuver is still really good. I'm like between B and C with this guy right now. Personally, I would say C, but he might be a B. I'm going to just put see. All right, here's the Exia, which I think is one of two suits that are listed for highest difficulty on Gundam Evolution. That's what the personal devs think. It's close range, 800 HP, and has a dash limit of 3. The Exia is definitely pretty good if you know how to use it. Now, obviously, there's all the people going like, it's like Genji from Overwatch. And yes, it is like Genji from Overwatch. This is the only one that's super comparable to Overwatch, though I feel like the rest of the mobile suits are more unique enough. Be it, I dropped Overwatch long ago, so I don't know anything about the more newer characters, and I definitely don't care about Overwatch 2. But the Exia's got the daggers for the main weapon, decent range, decent damage. Now, its main gimmick is the sub-weapon, which is a charge up into a slice at an enemy. It's pretty good. It goes a pretty far distance. I've seen Exia players zoom around with this guy. Just very fast. Its G maneuver is Transam, which just boosts all of its abilities, making its one of its active skills, I'll mention soon, into a newer effect, giving it 2 extra of its dash extra active skill, and then just making it just overall perform better. So I should mention the quick step active skill it's kind of just what it says. Leap in a certain direction. When Transam is active, you get 2 charges and they charge faster. Or their skills cooldown is faster. Pretty simple. It's good for the type of suit it is, since you'll want to be moving a lot in and out of fights. So I almost think of it as like an extra dash upon the dashes you already get, but you can use this one in midair to kind of hover a bit while you charge your charge attack skill. Now its active second active skill is the spin and slash, a quick attack that just pushes enemies away. It's a melee move, so it's used pretty much right after you use the main sub weapon. That's about it for that one, but its Transam version does more damage and it doesn't push the enemy back and moves you towards the enemy, as I can tell from the video here. So definitely a good mobile suit. But I feel like because of that difficulty, like I've seen people use it pretty well, but it's not the suit that like, oh, I see an Exia and I'm like, this is game over for me. It's not one of those kinds of suits. So I feel like I have to put it in B because it just doesn't seem overpowering. Now, speaking of suits that are great and I'm bad at, GM Sniper 2. GM Sniper 2 does exactly what did you think it would do. It's a sniper unit. 1,000 health, 2 dashes. Apparently it's... sorry, I'm actually reading the wrong mobile suit. Where is a GM Sniper 2? Is it not in this list? Oh, here it is. I can't find it at all. Long range, 800 health, and 1 dash. I was going to say that it's long. Obviously, its main action is the sniper rifle. You have to use the sniper rifle scoped, unscoped, and the accuracy is so bad. Shooting forward, you'll shoot like almost completely to the left or right or top or bottom of your screen. It's impossible to shoot it without the scope. Its G maneuver is super basic, but it works for the whole team. It allows you to see all the currently alive units on the map. That's all it is. You can see them through walls. It's helpful, obviously, for sniping, and for teams setting up attacks, but that's about it. First active skill is the jump pad. Jump pad is obviously meant as a way to reach harder to reach places, but I've seen people also use it as almost a trap of like, someone has put it right outside attacker spawns and stuff like that. So it's possible to use them as a trap. Not a lot of people even use them like that though. And it's only an okay skill. Its other active skill, another kind of okay one, is it's Vulcans, and the Vulcans are pretty nice. The Vulcan pods, they it's a close range attack, since obviously your sniper sucks at close range. You'll want something like that. It doesn't do a ton of damage, but it will pick enemies that are low on health off pretty much. It's perfect for that. It's kind of like how you would almost use the Vulcans in Gundam Battle Operations 2, only when you're out of ammo or energy with other weapons and you just need extra damage to finish off an enemy. You would switch to the Vulcans. Now its final active skill is the recovery gun, which is revive a disabled ally from long range. There is a catch of it doesn't instantly revive. It takes around, I would say, 2 to 3 seconds to revive an ally, but as a extra skill, it's pretty nice for a ranged unit already kind of hanging on the back row where they can't join on the front lines to protect their main units. And that's why I kind of like it's overall. And the thing with the main weapon, if you get a headshot, you probably disable that unit. I think maybe some of the more tankier characters can survive a headshot, but anything that's like under on or under 1,000 health, I would say, dies in one shot. And that's why I'm giving GM Sniper an A. If you can snipe in this game, you are doing great. I have been constantly, like, the minute I poke my head out, died from GM snipers. They are great at this game. I suck at them, but I know they're great. Now here's a mobile suit that I actually kind of really like for how simple it is. The GM. The GM is like a, although low health unit, is all about shielding. It's all about almost tanking in some ways. I wouldn't say Gundam Evolution has the same like quote unquote roles that Overwatch has, where there's the tank, there's the healer, there's the support, there's the DPS. It doesn't necessarily have that, because the GM snipe, or the GM itself, can still do damage with the spray gun. It's just decent damage, and then you just hold and the main gimmick is being able to hold the shield and still be able to shoot. Now you have to put the shield away to reload. It's the only time it's like the only time you can put the shield away, unless the shield itself is broken. And the shield has 1,300 health, so it can take a ton of hits. I'm pretty sure it's, as long as it's the enemies in front of you, they'll never deal any damage to you, even if they, quote unquote, I think, shoot through the slot on the shield that you look through. Of course, your backside is still exposed. Its G maneuver, pretty good. 3 or 5 hovering mines it sets up, instantly flies to the nearest enemy. You can move around still when you're using it, so you can peek around a corner, quickly throw it out, and be able to move back into the corner. Great for defense, great for offense. Just overall a good G maneuver. And then the action skill 1 will be the shield bash. This one's pretty basic. Close range bash against the enemy. It knocks them back a pretty good distance. Does okay damage, nothing special. It doesn't seem to weaken your shield at all when you do it. So good for probably some melee units, or if someone's really close up to you and you just want to push them away. Overall, an okay skill. Second skill, the detonator bomb, or the C4 as I just call it. An incendiary explosive that just acts like a C4. You throw it on the ground, and then you can activate it whenever you want. The enemies can blow it up and not activate its effect, but its damage is very impressive if an enemy runs into it and isn't, like, either is already weak or isn't ready for it. They can just, it shreds their health. Very good, easy traps, good skill. Third skill, which I also think is pretty good, the repair grenade. All it is a simple grenade, when thrown at the ground, heals you and any nearby mobile suits, or allies specifically. It heals for a lot. Like, if you're at a quarter health left, it'll almost fill up your health to max. So it's very helpful for saving yourself or even an ally if you want to play a bit more supportive. So overall, GM, I might also give an A. See, now this kind of makes me want to move this up to A as well. But I'll see. I'll see how that is. It's still, like, overall pretty good. But I think I'm going to keep GM in A tier for now. Now, here's the first one that I will just say S tier. I honestly think Barbatos is way too strong in this game. It destroys people. Okay, so it's another melee-like unit with the like the Exia. Unlike the Exia, it doesn't have like a ranged primary or any ranged attacks at all. It's purely melee. Its main weapon is the mace, which knocks back enemies when hit. It's alright. It does good damage. Gets the job done. The sub-weapon, though, is one of the first parts where it gets good. It's a charge attack when maxed, I assume when it's maxed out, stuns the enemy, locking them to the ground. Here's the thing. That does so much damage, you can probably kill it in 1 and 2 just main weapon attacks right after the smash itself. Even for the most tankier units like the Sazabi. Which, by the way, it just breaks the Sazabi shield, essentially. So, like, you're just screwed if you get knocked down. And it just destroys anything in its way. Its G maneuver is the, I'm not even going to pronounce what the system is called, but you take out the long sword, you do up to 3 slices back and forth. It's pretty strong. I wouldn't say it's too special. You have to be pretty accurate sometimes, I've noticed, with the swipes, because I've completely missed when it felt like I should have hit. It's okay. It's okay, G maneuver. It doesn't kill on 1 slice, so you might have to do it at least 2 times to kill an enemy. But it's pretty okay. Slice can go pretty far distance. First active skill is the boost jump, which the boost jump, it sets you up for getting behind enemies, getting up to higher places. It's anything you need to move, and it resets if you kill an enemy. I actually didn't even know that until I just read that. That makes it, I would put it up another tier just because after I read that. Wow, I didn't even see that. And the boost jump can usually be comboed into its other skill, the longsword. You leap forward in the air and just do a downward slam. And instead of disabling enemies that are killed, it completely destroys them. So it's a free destroy. They can't be even revived or anything. It's really good. It works well with the boost dash. So if you even kill with the longsword, you can immediately use the boost dash to either get out of there or your own personal dashes. And you can even use that boost jump. I keep calling it boost jump to while charging up to your sub weapon. You can't use your sub weapon in the air, but you can charge it in the air to get closer to the enemy besides just the standard boosts that you get, which it gets 3 boosts. And for a melee unit, obviously I think it needs 3 boosts to even get close to the enemy. But goddamn, that stun. When you get stunned, you're just not moving anymore, and you're just dead. Very rarely have I escaped a Barbatos that stunned me and lived. So that's why it gets an instant S. There is this, like, the suit is just bullies players. And if you find a good Barbatos player, Godspeed, because you are not getting far in that match. Now, next mobile suit will be the Guntank. Mid-range, 1,200 health, and a dash limit of 2. Guntank, I'm kind of mixed on it. The main weapon, the BOP missiles, which is a great name, automatically targets multiple enemies. It doesn't have ammo, but does overheat. And the sub-action focuses on one enemy. So if you're just trying to deal most damage to one guy, just probably not focusing on you or is focusing on you, it's good for that. I just feel like it doesn't do a lot of damage. Its G maneuver, similar to Junkrat from Overwatch. Send out a core fighter that explodes the enemies in the area. The core fighter can be destroyed. I've destroyed it myself sometimes. It's pretty just basic, but it works out pretty well. And it doesn't. I don't know if it will destroy, like, completely erase everyone's health, but it would, like, if they're at max health, if it will always kill. But it's still very effective. Even though you blow up your own core fighter, which is just the cockpit of the Guntank, you still play the Guntank. It's not gonna just be like you respawn as a new one. You go back to where you were. All right, G maneuver gets the job done. This first action skill is the rush. The rush skill is you dash towards the enemy and deal damage as you hit them, and you also take less damage as they shoot at you. In fact, I don't think you take any damage. And you can end it earlier with the main action to deal even more damage to the person you hit. It's fine. It's a bit of a clear if someone gets close to you or you just need to get far. It's fine. I don't see it super strong or fine. Since it does technically defend your health, it's great in that regard, but that's about it, I think. Second action skill is cannon. You just shoot the cannons on the Guntank. It's a tank after all. It's slow moving and doesn't have the farthest range. It does a decent damage though if you do get a direct hit. But that's about it. It's pretty basic. Now, it's one of its main gimmicks is its passive skill. So this skill I guess you could say it's not actually a passive skill because it does have a cooldown. But you can revive any of your allies' mobile suits much faster. It'll be like in 1 second they'll be revived. It has about a 12-second cooldown for some reason. I don't know how many players are reviving usually that often. But fine, I guess. There's only one other suit that has... I guess some Methuss can revive in a different way as well. But it's just an extra support option, and it's fine. Nothing special. Here's what I'll give it. I honestly... Oh. Does this get the D for me? No, it just gets the C, I think. I would say it's probably worse than the Dom Trooper, even though I don't like the Dom Trooper. I don't really like both these suits, honestly. Dom Trooper also, I should say, has unique movement of basically it's constantly hovering, so it almost feels like it's sliding on the ground. Some people might not like it, some people might like it. It's just a kind of unique movement that all the Dom kind of family have. Well, let's start with the second of the newest announced units, the Marasai, specifically the Unicorn Gundam version. This is another one I'm going to immediately put in a tier, and it's going to be D. I'll explain that in a second here. So it's got mid-range, HP is 1,200, and it's got a dash, two dashes. Its main weapon is a rifle. Decent accuracy, and it can you can steady down like the scope. There's no scope on it, but you hold it forward, you zoom in the camera. It does a bit more damage. Actually, I don't know if it does. No, it doesn't do any more damage, but it does less recoil, a bit more accurate. Its G maneuver, pretty good, is the Sea Snake Shock. And almost a cone in front of you stuns all the enemies for around 5-ish to 6 seconds. Easy to get at least 2 kills off in that duration. Pretty good maneuver. It does damage on the enemies too. It's not just a stun. Pretty good, but it's a bit on the basic side again, but it gets the job done. Its first action skill is a melee strike. It pushes you towards where you're attacking and knocks the enemy back. Does a okay chunk of health. Actually does a pretty good chunk of health if you can hit it. That's the thing, if you can hit it. It's kind of awkward to use. Here was the gimmick that I thought I would love of this character, which is the Sea Snake Ensnare, which I'm like, oh, this is Roadhog's hook. You hook onto an enemy, it pulls it towards you. I've hit the Sea Snake. I played a Marasai around 3 to 4 times. I've hit it once or twice. And this is the problem with this suit. The Sea Snake is very effective. Pulls the enemy right in front of you. You can use your other action skill, get that melee damage out and probably just shoot it once and you destroy the enemy. The Sea Snake has like such lag before it actually comes out, and when it does come out, you're probably already missed. The enemies probably already hit you or stunned you. It's just pointless by that point. It doesn't have even that long of a range. The cooldown is 10 seconds, so if you miss, it's just like can't use it for a while. I just feel like this is just not effective enough as a melee or a grab tool at all. Like, either reduce that lag, reduce its cooldown, or reduce its or increase its range, because as it is right now, I find it very mediocre and just not helpful. And when the main weapon, the G maneuver, almost feels like the only good things from the suit. And like, even then, the main weapon's pretty basic, just a classic rifle. It's nothing super special. That's where I feel like, yeah, it's not worth playing at all. Now here's one that also surprised me on how kind of more decent it is, and it's the Methuss. Another transformable suit, mid-range, and 800 HP, 2 dashes. I would say the only kind of more pure support suit in the game. And its main weapon is the 2 arm beam guns, rapid fire, mid-range. You never lose accuracy when you're shooting, so they're super accurate. And its sub-weapon is its main gimmick of a cable that you connect to an ally that stays with the ally as long as they are within the line of sight. I think also what they mean by within the line of sight of if you can see them in a 360 kind of view. So the minute you wouldn't, like, if you, as long as you can turn around and see your ally, it connects. Not that you have to be constantly looking at said ally. So, like, say your ally goes into a building and turns the corner after entering the door, it will cut the cable. That being said, there is no cooldown on this cable. It connects instantly to any mobile suit you target. Very helpful. And connects with its energy cable G maneuver, which grants an ally a temporary boost of extra power, causing them to deal more damage and take less damage. Will automatically target a repair cabled ally. So obviously, if you were like, oh, I want specifically this guy, you don't want to be awkwardly targeting someone else. It's very useful, very helpful. But it just gets it up. It's boost an ally. Pure support G maneuver. And of course, it can transform. It's not as long of a transformation as the Asshimar is, so it's not meant to exactly always be used up and flying in the air. Probably more of an escape due to its low health, but it doesn't break the repair cable as long as you're once again in sight. So it's good for that. You can still fire your main gun. That's about it. It's very similar to Asshimar, just not as long. The twin shot is the first action skill. Powerful long-range beams from both arms. And it also does an area of effect damage. So any enemy, if you hit an enemy and enemies nearby, they'll also take some damage. Just basic, just extra shot damage. Asshimar also has like one similar like that. And the last one is the gun turret. An automatic turret that just shoots at enemies. Enough said. I think it does perfectly well with that as well. Just like you can put it on your objective, whether you're defending or attacking, constantly getting some extra hits and maybe even distracting the enemy if they're wanting to destroy it over an actual player or something. So I think of it as a pretty good extra skill for Methuss. That being said, I'm wavering between B and A with Methuss right now. Maybe low A. Is it better than Asshimar? Ooh. It's pure support. Maybe low B, honestly. Just to be fair. Because it is mostly just a support suit. It isn't rocking out the hardest damage in the game. But because it's so accurate with its guns, it makes it kind of good in that sense because of how accurate it is. Now, this is definitely seen as the beginner suit of the series, the Pale Rider. Pale Rider is mid-range, 1000 HP, and 2 dashes. And its main weapon is just a simple machine gun. It'll 24 ammo magazine, kind of heavy recoil, but you can once again look down the sights to have less recoil. Pretty simple. G maneuver buff that increases speed and weapon performance. Very simple Hades system. The EMP grenade slows down enemies in an area. Now the only issue I have with the EMP grenade is that because it does get the job done, does slow the enemies down, but you cannot throw it very far. You only throw it like a few feet in front of you. And if they're already kind of in front of you, slowing them down it seems pointless. I would rather slow them down at a further range. So that's only my only issue with the EMP grenade. Other than that, I think it's a fine skill. Hand grenade. It's a grenade that blows up on contact. Area damage. Enough said. Repair pod is similar to the grenade, except it stays up for longer. The GM's grenade, that is. It stays up for longer and will continuously heal in that area, but an enemy can destroy the pod. So it can be more effective than the GM's grenade, but at the same time, GM's grenade just comes out like that. No enemy can destroy it. That's simple. That being said, Pale Rider is good, but very kind of basic. It's great for beginners, especially because, you know, nothing super unique. You got a way to heal yourself. You got a way to heal allies. You can easily deal damage. I mean, grenade is a grenade. It does damage. It gets its job done. So I would give it just a solid B, kind of mid B here. Probably above the Exia, because once again, the Exia is like, you have to be good to play the Exia. That being said, I should have mentioned this as the Barbatos. The Exia could almost be with the Barbatos. But I think there is definitely a very, like, more of a higher skill ceiling for the Exia than the Barbatos, or at least like a high A for Exia. That's why I think the Barbatos deserves the S rank spot compared to Exia, because though there is a bit of a skill learning ceiling for Barbatos, I have gone matches where I've gone off as Barbatos, and another suit coming up soon too, which I'm debating whether I want to put an S as well. But the next suit I want to talk about is the Gundam, the RX-78-2, the original Gundam. Mid-range, 1000 HP, dash limit 2, and a shield of 1000. Its main attack, of course, it's a beam rifle, does medium damage. I've seen that your first shot will be pretty accurate, but by the second shot of the beam rifle shooting in succession, it's just really inaccurate unless you use the steady your aim, because my god, you're just shooting everywhere if you're not focusing down the barrel, essentially. So it will slow you down, but you get more accuracy, and it's a pretty accurate weapon when you are aiming down the barrel. It's very much worth it for that. G maneuver is a pretty strong G maneuver. Especially I've noticed a lot of new players fall into this one a lot. It's the super napalm. Throw a napalm grenade, which I find it funny they use the napalm grenades from like just the second or third episode, like when he had to destroy the additional like parts of the mobile suits so Zeon couldn't get information on them or whatever. It's just like, this is such a random thing he used. Like, even the hyper hammer has more iconic than just super napalm. But you throw the super napalm grenade, and then after a short second you'll shoot at it. I think if you shoot up in the air, you almost do like the last shooting kind of famous pose, and then after a short period of time it goes off. Enemies trapped in that will pretty much instantly die. But if you're prepared, you know, you have your dashes, you get out of it, you transform away, fly away, it's not that dangerous. I've seen players easily escape it. I can usually easily escape it myself. It's not super strong. And that's when we go to the first action skill, Gundam Shield. Take cover behind a shield, which lasts for a set duration or until it absorbs the maximum damage. Ends early if you attack or use thrusters, but you can dash and hover around with it still. So we already discussed the shield for the GM of how you can shoot while also moving and having to shield up. You only have to put it away to reload, or if it does take max damage. The Gundam shields falls short because it's just defensive. You cannot attack during it. You can only boost away or hover away, and that's it. It feels very basic, which I get. It's just like they don't want too much of the same thing overflowing, I guess, each other. Like, you don't want a secondary GM type unit. But because the Gundam shield feels so pointless, I find myself rarely using the skill. It seems pointless. It doesn't seem worth it ever to use. Its other skill, on the other hand, the Hyper Hammer, pretty good. You throw the Hyper Hammer, it deals damage, stuns, and knockbacks, and ground break when it hits an enemy. And if it strikes a wall near the enemy, it will deal extra damage to them, or at least some damage to them. So the Hyper Hammer is pretty okay. It stuns, obviously, and if you have an enemy with a shield, you'll want to stun them. And just pretty decent. It leaves them open for easy headshots. It's got a long wind up, but I feel like not even as long as the Sea Snake, honestly, and I hit it generally a decent amount of the times. That being said, I'd still only give the Gundam a high C. The Hyper Hammer is basically all its like good skill, because the shield just sucks. And I feel like there was like more they could have done with the Gundam. There's the Beam Javelin. It's such a classic. They could have worked in the last shooting in almost a different way. Like, make that the G maneuver, or maybe like a super napalm grenade that's not a long range and not as strong as just a grenade type skill. I feel like the Gundam just doesn't have the potential you think the Gundam would have. The Hyper Bazooka. Where's the Hyper Bazooka? This Gundam feels so lacking. For it to be like, here's the original suit, it feels so weird that it's just such a mediocre suit in all of this. I find the GM such a basic design just to be better than the basic Gundam. That being said, I actually do like playing the Gundam and using the Hyper Hammer. I just think overall, the shield and how easy it can be to escape the G maneuver does not make it as worth it as some of these other suits. That being said, next is the Sazabi. I think the Sazabi is almost, for me, a guaranteed, I'm like floating between S and A. It's not Barbatos levels, but it's pretty good. And the Sazabi is a close range, 1,400. Actually, that's the max HP. If I said 1,200 was, that's the max HP. Has one dash and a shield of 1,600. So its shield is automatically larger than the GM shield, which seems weird. And from what I can tell, at least whenever I fought the Sazabi, it still covers its whole front body, even though it doesn't look like it does. So it's almost like the GM shield anyway. Its main weapon is the beam shot rifle, which you can tell right away is going to be a shotgun-esque weapon. So it's only effective at very close ranges. That being said, it's very effective at very close ranges. You can do some massive damage if you sneak up behind an enemy and just wipe them out quickly. Its G maneuvers is the funnels. This is kind of like an okay, I think, G maneuver, but like sneaking up on enemies, they don't see it coming. And if there's enemies are standing still, they die. The funnels are most effective if the enemies are not moving, for sure. But I've noticed if enemies are constantly moving, your funnels are missing more often. But it works just how you expect Gundam funnels to work. Automatically swarms to the nearest enemies and starts shooting at them. Gets the job done. Lasts around 10 to 15 seconds. Pretty good, pretty effective. Its first action skill is the homing boost, which allows you to fly towards any nearby ally, and the Heat Tomahawk, I think it's called. Pretty effective. Obviously, for a close range unit, any way to get closer to the enemy can be very helpful, so this is its main movement skill, to get closer to the enemies. And I've used it in some tricky ways, if I maybe even sneaking behind an enemy or boosting to a platform that's hard to get to. And here's the beam tomahawk I mentioned. So it's just a throwable tomahawk. It's got an arcing throw, so it does start to lower after a certain distance. But hitting an enemy will not just damage and stun them, but it still use the homing boost that I mentioned earlier can still be used even when the tomahawk is attached to a player. So it gets you even closer to the enemy thanks to that. And even if you miss with the beam tomahawk, you can fly to it if it's stuck in the wall. You can get it to move around the area faster, get closer to the enemy faster. Pretty good. The other skill is a pretty basic skill, just like, if it wasn't the fact that you had to activate it, I would almost say it's a passive skill, because it just detects enemies through any obstacle for a short time, revealing their positions. And I've noticed that it counts as a quote-unquote debuff. And what I mean by that is, like, obviously I don't know exactly how to describe it as a debuff, but it just means that if another player gets the kill, you get a little bit of credit because you applied that debuff, quote unquote, on them to get that. And overall, I find this suit great. But what makes it so great is the fact that it has that shield just like the GM. And this is coming back around why the Gundam shield is so lackluster, because this one can still move and shoot while firing just as the GM can. True, you have to be in the close range, but when you are in a close range, you are doing so much damage. And almost like any match you play in, there's someone playing a Sazabi. It's rare to not have a Sazabi versus a Sazabi type match because of how good it is. It's definitely like not broken like Barbatos is. So that's why I'm like wondering if it deserves that S rank. But it's still overall really good, and like, it doesn't have super high the skill ceiling again. Like, as long as you know you need to get close, you're doing damage with that shot rifle. So that's why I am going to put in S tier. But it's almost high A as well. Now here's one that's sadly disappointed me, the Turn A Gundam. I love Turn A. Mech design by Sid Mead. Classic. I need to fully watch the anime. I have not watched it all, but it's a mid-ranged mobile suit, HP 1100. I think it's the only one with 1100 HP. Dash limit 2. It's as it's described in its description here, it's a mysterious mobile suit found in a statue known as the White Doll, which it has. I think it's the only mobile suit with a unique spawning animation. If you ever like sortie into a mission and you start as the turn A, or you see someone start as the turn A, you'll see it breaking out of like a rock, which is obviously meant to reference that the fact that it was in the statue in the show. So I'm like, that's a classic reference to the turn A's origins. I love to see that. Its main weapon is the beam rifle. It does okay damage, but the only problem I have with the beam is the beam feels like it's too slow. I'm hardly ever hitting the beam. But it has the sub-action of being able to charge your shot for the cost of 2 ammo instead of 1. And it can also pierce through enemies. It does fire a slower projectile, mind you. So if you are charging the shot, be mindful that it's slower. Its G maneuver is obviously the Moonlight Butterfly. I mean, like, I feel like when you talk about turn A, Moonlight Butterfly is like instantly like what should be its G maneuver. Rise into the air and fly for a short time, damaging all enemies in a trail beneath you. And unless I am wrong, the Moonlight Butterfly, it doesn't say here, so I might be wrong, and I might have thought of this as a different effect. But one time I had an ally flying over me with the Moonlight Butterfly, and I was getting a buff. I'm not exactly sure what the buff was. Maybe I thought it was something else. But that has happened to me. It's not described here, so I'm going to assume it's just something that randomly happened. And now its first skill is the Nano Skin, which automatically repairs your suit for a short time. Very simple skill, but gets the job done. Fast repairs. Can't find a health point anywhere. I would actually wouldn't call it super fast repairs, but it repairs faster than, say, like the Methuss's repair cables. So it's good for that. It won't get you the full health, I don't think, but it will like get you closer to there. Now, its second skill is one that I kind of have mixed opinions of, is the overhead throw. Overhead is throw is a short range grapple on an enemy where you throw them in the air, and when they land, throw them in the air behind you, particularly. They land and are stunned for a short time, leaving them, of course, open to shoot at. I have one of the unique things, actually, before I mention the issue I have with this, is that if you are reloading your gun and then you activate the overhead throw, the reload still happens, but essentially kind of cancels that animation. So you can be immediately ready to shoot right after you overhead throw if you had like 0 magazine. Even though you don't necessarily reload the beam rifle, I've noticed you just throw it away and get a new one. I don't know where they get a new beam rifle, but I'm not going to ask that question. Now, the issue I have with the overhead throw, the grapple is such a weird range. Obviously it's a short range thing, but I've like missed the enemy with the grapple so many times that I'm like, man, I only wish I could hit the enemy better. And here's my issue with the turn A, is that these are the only 2 skills for the turn A, and it feels very lackluster like the Gundam does. I'm like, the turn A had hyper hammers, the turn A had beam sabers. I kind of wish we could see some of these other weapons and skills maybe the turn A used. Now, I know I'm not like, I haven't watched all of turn A, but I played like Gundam Extreme Versus. In fact, Gundam Extreme Versus, I think, uses the hyper hammers as its quote-unquote gun weapon. So I'm like, I feel like it's lackluster. I almost feel like they should have replaced the beam rifle and made the hyper hammers its main weapon, and had it kind of be a more melee centric, and then make the beam rifle a action skill instead. I feel like that would have been more better and more unique for the turn A. Probably give it an extra dash. I think the health is around fine. It doesn't seem too overpowered. It's only 100 more than Barbatos, and I always feel like Barbatos is overpowered. But because of that, it feels so lackluster. I'm putting it in Bomb C. The Gundam still seems more powerful, honestly, to me, just with the Hyper Hammer alone, because the Hyper Hammer has range. And we're already on the last suit, the Zaku II. I would say this is a suit I personally have the least amount of familiarity. Actually, I forgot, this is the 3rd suit that's the devs consider highest difficulty, which I can kind of see it. It's another close range suit, 800 HP and a dash of 3. Its main weapon is the Zaku machine gun. Pretty large barrel, and when you're up close to an enemy, once again, you're doing massive damage to an enemy. Its G maneuver is the Heat Hawk Slash. This one's also pretty basic, but you charge forward, do a slash, stun anyone that hits it. So it leaves them open for a short period to shoot at in the back. That's about it. Its action skill, what makes it unique. The Smoke Discharger, which makes it hide in a cloud of smoke and become temporarily immune to damage from enemies. It's a great getaway or kind of like get in kind of technique. If get close to the enemy, if they're unable to shoot you with the Smoke Discharger, you can use it for both ways easily, especially since it's a close range unit. You want to get into enemies, you can use it easily to get closer to enemies. Its secondary skill is the classic Cracker Grenade. It's similar, of course, to just the Pale Rider's grenade, but it has a lag before it goes off. So it doesn't, if you throw it, it will take 2 seconds before it actually explodes, and it seems to push the enemies back further. I'm back to putting maybe Zaku II in B tier, because it's like right next to the Pale Rider for me, of being a pretty basic one. It gets the job done. It's pretty fast since it's got the 3 dashes. I've seen Zaku players dash everywhere. I feel like it's bottom B tier. It's not bad like these ones where I feel like all their skills are bad, because the ones I see in C, I feel like they just have skills or certain things about them that just are pointless or not needed or need changing or need more of almost. Because, you know, I feel like the suits that have more of the skills definitely do gain more from that. I just feel like they are definitely better because they have more of the skills. And like the Marasai was almost good if the Sea Snake was just better, but because the Sea Snake seems so like mediocre, that's just an instant D for me. Very personal, obviously, very opinionated, but I don't care. This is my tier list. Make your own. That being said, I'm actually going to put Asshimar up to bottom A. I think it deserves it. I honestly do think it deserves it. Exia, I think I'm putting Exia at least top B. Thinking about it here and now, after placing everyone, Exia's got the highest skill ceiling, but I honestly think players who learn Exia well are good at hero shooters, not like me. They can definitely do this a lot better. Obviously, I'm kind of putting Sazabi in A because I just like the Sazabi. I definitely think it's worth Sazabi, and obviously, this is just the mobile suits themselves. Current cosmetics I won't focus on. Maybe I'll do a cosmetic tier list though, because I have personal opinions about some of the cosmetics in the game, and I would love to rant about them. Obviously, this is still the network test as well. This is not... I'll probably, if they have done significant changes to these suits when the full game is out, I don't know if it's later this spring or in summer, I will definitely do another tier list, moving them around, or if they add like probably a few more, maybe I'll do a whole nother video for it. But for this network test, this is how I feel. I do definitely think some suits, Barbatos especially, overpowered. I wouldn't say anything else is severely overpowered. It just feels like they're underwhelming. So like the ones in C and D here, they just feel more underwhelming to me. I've heard people say they've loved the Guntank, which is fair. Good on you. Not for me. I mean, I love the Gundam, but I still think it's underwhelming. But that being said, this is just a quick video. I say quick. I have no idea how long this recording has been going on, but this is how I just feel overall about the current suits. I think the game is fun. It's great. I haven't played a hero shooter in forever. I only played like years ago. I played with Paladins with a friend. Tried to go back into Paladins like last year. Saw there was like 56 characters or something. It's wild, and just it's like nope. I'm too many. It's like I had no idea how to keep up with all those characters. Especially after not playing forever, I don't know how the game was balanced or changed with the characters I did kind of remember. But this is how I feel about the current mobile suits, repeating myself over and over again. The game is fun. I'm having a blast with it. I haven't had any major bugs or issues with the network text, from what I can tell. I'm like 7 levels in the mobile or season pass. Currently, I'm just straight up, I'm enjoying this game. I'm hoping to actually max out the season pass before it goes away, the network test goes away, and you can still sign up for the network test if I upload this in time. I think the ends on somewhere around April 11th is the end of this network test sign up, which is kind of strange since the network test does just end on the 12th. So sign up. I've had a friend try to sign up for it the day that network test went up, and she got in the very next day. So it's still possible to get in before it's closed if I do upload this in time. But thanks for watching. This is Beyond. I'm out.